So I got a text. It was of this tool broken. Not this one particularly, but insert clip here. Now, this individual brand, S-Twing, actually has a little bit of curvature to this part right here. I thought that was kind of cool. You can have a longer handle and not have it bend as much when you're prying on something, but evidently that created a stress concentration spot and it broke right about here. You saw the picture. So that's fine. We had it for 8 years, it did well. But I'm kind of happy it broke, because now I don't have to cut apart this to make a gouge.
Alright, let's start out with getting rid of whatever heat treat was left in that piece of steel. I'm not sure what it was or whether it was defective, and that's why it broke, but my guess is it had stress fatigue and finally decided to bite the dust. But anyway, we're going to put our own heat treat on it. Take it out and let it cool down on top of the stove. Now that it's nice and soft, we can grind away a new bevel. Now I probably should have started out with an angle grinder, but I didn't. So I used this for a while, and it did work. It did cut away quite a bit of steel quite quickly, but honestly, I probably should have started with the angle grinder. If the angle grinder was the only tool you had, you probably could do it just with the angle grinder, but I have other options and other tools, so I use them. I will, however, use this grinder to refine the bevel and get a little bit closer. It's also a much more accurate way of putting a bevel on.
I'll put it in the tool backwards. Put it this way.
Well, it's only accurate if you use the tool right. Backwards doesn't really work that well. So now let's put a tang on it. So I went with a 6-inch tang, figuring that the handle's going to make up the rest of the bulk behind the tool. And frankly, looking back on it, it's a little big for the lathe we have, but if I upgrade to a bigger lathe somewhere in the future, it'll be nice to have a bigger tool.
One of these days I am going to build a forge. But until then, winter's here, so this will work just fine. It'll just take a little longer. Also might take some ironwood.
So for the heat treat, I didn't really know what type of steel this was. I'm guessing it's probably some sort of spring steel, but I'm gonna quench it in water because that's cheap, and I don't really have oil that I'm willing to quench in. Turned out hard enough. It did warp slightly, but I was able to grind out any issues with it. Now to take back the temper so we don't crack the tip off when we hit it with a big knot on the lathe. And now to refine it a little bit, this time using the tool the right way. Now I did have the handle on while I was sharpening it, and I'm going to show you how I built the handle right here. This is another piece of ironwood, kind of like the stuff we used in the forge. This stuff is really hard. I will definitely need to sharpen my tools after this. I ended up using 2 different tools because I was too lazy to sharpen them. It worked. Sometimes when you're cutting ironwood, you'll get to see some sparks. I actually didn't see any sparks coming off of this stuff. But I have seen sparks when I cut it with a chainsaw and or a axe. Just some regular old paste wax. I didn't use linseed oil. Probably should have, but I kind of was having fun with the wax. Now here I made a mistake. I drilled this hole in at an angle and had nothing to reference off of for something straight. So therefore, when I put the tool into the handle, I noticed it was a little crooked. I either drilled the hole wrong or it sat wrong, I'm not sure what happened, but it turned out being crooked in a direction I could tolerate.
I think we got it.
Didn't mean to drop it on the floor there.
I did not want to do that.
Now a little bit of epoxy just to hold it in. Okay, maybe not just a little bit. It's probably the most epoxy I've ever mixed up in one batch. Hey, there's gaps to fill. It'll be fine. I hope. Now to try it out. I will be changing the bevel a little bit. I heard from a friend that evidently you're supposed to grind it with a little bit of sweep to the edges of the blade, and you're not supposed to have it as though it were a big gouge like you would use for hollowing out something. It's actually meant to have some sweep to the ends, and that helps it not grab a little bit. Live and learn.
Well, it seems to work. The blade is actually a little crooked to the handle, which may have been me trying to drill this hole straight in there and just didn't work out so well, but it doesn't really matter. I don't notice it using it. In fact, it's actually offset the right way because I'm right-handed. So it may just work. Kinda thrilled with it. Not bad for a broken tool. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I think we'll be using this a lot, and I really like the handle. I mean, that handle looks cool. It was a pain to make, but it was cool. Thanks for watching.